Hello friends, how are you today? Well, today I want to give you a message of hope and encouragement and encourage you to power up from within. And I want to show you why I'm saying this related to what the Schumann resonance charts are showing. We have a huge opportunity here. Speaking to you as someone who pays attention to these kind of energies, I want to explain to you what I feel it is, because you are a person that could take advantage of this opportunity since you're listening here today. I wanted to say something else. If you're available at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays and you'd like to learn more about energy and your own field and how to suss out these things, how to be in a fifth dimensional state, how to even begin to sense these things. We do a lot of talking about that, and we're going to talk especially about magnetism in this workshop. Okay, let me show you the charts. So this is the chart for today, October 5th, and this is the chart for yesterday. And the thing that you notice about these charts is there's not a lot going on, number one. And number two, the patterning of the flows that you can see are random. Now, I went over that concept in my last video, so if you want more about the randomness of the energy currently, that's a really good one to check out. The thing that's showing up on the chart to note is these thin lines, okay, which are really interesting. They do tend to have a lot of colors on them. We had a space in the data here, and we had these interesting like bars of light, but with a lot of red energy coming in. What's really relevant here in my view is the black charts. Let me show you this. Look at this. This is the frequency today, and you can see it's under 25.5, okay, but it's really, if you kind of draw a line through the data, you get 24.76. And take a look yesterday, because it's really dramatic. You can see it there. Here's 25.2. And if you remember, this is a level that I've said that in the green, representing humanity, when we go down under this level, and here we are dipping down into the 24s and even as low as 23.9 in the frequency range of the green resonance, well, you see what's happening here. It's like we hit the deck, right? And what happens when you hit the deck? It's like you think something's going to happen. It's so amazing. I was in a taxi in San Francisco, and this exactly illustrates the energies, this story. I was riding with this man, and he decided to tell me an interesting story. He was a Vietnam War veteran, the taxi driver, and he was stopped at a light in the city, and he had a passenger in the car, and suddenly he perceived movement around him. And because he was very well trained, because he had been in the military, he knew exactly what to do. He yelled at the passenger behind him, hit the deck, get as flat to the ground as you can. And so he did that. He got down as low as he could on his side, and the passenger listened and got down as low as he could. Well, some of you may remember that there had been a crane accident in San Francisco where an extremely large crane had fell, and this was very unusual. This was that day, and his car was the car that had gotten hit. Both he and his passenger survived. And he told me, the reason that I knew something was going to happen, he said, I saw people outside the cab suddenly looking startled all around me. And he said, I saw them starting to run in different directions or point or whatever. The energy started to really shake, and he had an image of a shadow in his peripheral vision. And that's when he yelled, hit the deck. Now, here's the thing. This was a man with significant military training and actual experience in battle. This man knew what he was talking about, and he knew what he was doing. He did receive a medal from the city for his behavior that day, because he not only saved his life, he saved the life of his passenger. But here's what I want to tell you. Take a look at the energy here. You can see the amplitudes are very low. We've got down to 2.2 here, and as high as only 7. Here we've got 7 to 2. And in the green and yellow, we've got basically 1.6 to 3.6 and 2 to 3.9. These are very low amplitudes, but I'm going to show you something I bet you haven't seen. Look at this. You can see on this chart, the amplitude is actually at 0.5, and for red, and for green, 0.4. And this is for the fifth. Somehow those bottoms did not make it into this chart for the fifth. And they did not occur at the black line, because that's where I did check that. It looks like they occurred, before that. So what I want to say is the amplitudes in green and yellow might be even lower than you see here. I'm not quite sure how that would have happened. And we're hitting the deck. And yet in the qualities, which is sort of our inner truth, the connection with soul, if I'm just going to shortcut the definition to the human experience, right? It's the clearness of the core frequency coming through. And you see it go up to 32 and 26 in the green. And so what this means is a connection. We get closer connected to our soul. Closer, closer, closer. It's like you take the pads if someone has had a heart attack and their heart stopped, and you zing them, and that boom, it comes back up. The heart starts again. And you zing them, and ba-boom, and then ba-boom, 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 right? If it's successful, the heart keeps beating. You've seen on recent videos that I've showed you that 31 in successive sort of beats during the day was common before the COVID era. And it's almost like our heartbeat, right, underneath all of this is getting restarted. The quality of the red is very low, but periodically there's a spike. Now, what I'm associating with this today, rather than a strength in the forces of darkness, because I don't see that here, I think that our passion comes through as soon as we connect with our soul. The passion comes through. And it could also be that there's a move of the dark forces, okay? Or our shadow personality comes to light, we integrate it, and we get stronger. That could be part of it as well. So what I want to say is, don't be fooled. Look at this. See? Look at this. In the frequencies, we expanded to the high, towards the high end of the range, 27.8. This is, I'm using this as the green as the human experience. Yet we're hiding down here. But periodically, some of us are leaping up. We're leaping up in bravery. And it reminds me of that meme where an entire crowd is bowing before one person, and they don't know why they're bowing, and there's nothing holding them down, but they're bowing. And then one person stands up, and then another person stands up. The people get stronger and stronger, and suddenly everybody's standing, and the person who said that he had control or she had control is the one who's cowering. So what I want to say to you, in the story that I told you, the man in the cab, he knew what he was doing, and he correctly perceived the signs. But what I want to say to you here is consider your power. Consider your truth. Consider your knowing. Because you see how we've been pushed down here into the low ends of the frequencies. But look at these other frequencies, okay? They're flowing. They're fine. And look at white, okay? It's up here at the high end of its range. It's almost like the celestial, represented by the white, the expanded experience represented by the white resonance is saying, come on up and join me. Come on up and join me. So what I'm saying is that if you were in the cab, the passenger had to make an assessment if he was going to believe the cab driver and hit the deck, right? Now, the passenger assessed that this man knows what he's talking about. And perhaps they had already been talking. And perhaps the man had mentioned his military experience. And perhaps he said something. I mean, because for you to be told, if you're in a car and the driver says, get on the ground, you're only going to do that if you actually believe the person speaking to you is competent and knows what they're doing. Well, this is what I want to say to you. There's a lot out there in the world right now that is scaring humanity. You can see it reflected in the frequency numbers. You can see there's no energy. The amplitudes are low. But there are those among us who are like, let's do this. Let's go. I'm connecting. I've got my message. I've got my guidance. I know what I want to do. Ba-boom, ba-boom. We can resuscitate our state of being. We can resuscitate our lives and what we see around us into something that supports life. Because if you are the passenger in the car, which essentially you can think of humanity in that space, and there are all these global heads, talking heads in front of microphones, and they're saying, be scared because of situation A today, because of situation B, because of situation C, because of D, E, F, G. Are you going to hide and hit the deck? Have you assessed whether what's coming at you is real, whether it's from a competent source? Because here's what I have to say. You know, the Great Awakening is about waking up, right? What does that mean? Expanding your consciousness. In my view, ultimately, it truly requires us to understand that we are children of the Creator. You have to bring God into the conversation for it to make any sense. And trust me, I never thought I would be talking like this if I go back to when I was in my formal career, etc. But I've come to understand that so many of the things that I couldn't work through mentally from a professional perspective when I was trying to solve problems, and I could say, I don't know that I can find an answer here. As I have developed a spiritual practice, I've come to understand you are a living soul in human form, and divine law is your sword and shield. The living soul is your guide, the wings at your back. If you don't want to see something in your world, tell God and command it in alignment with divine will through you if you feel guided to do so. Because in my world, no, I don't consent to world wars. I don't consent to that. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to live and to live with others and build the new world and grow our culture and enhance our culture and to promote life and to promote love. But if you're hiding, if you're hitting the deck and the taxi driver isn't a competent individual but is a clown, you could look up and just see them laughing. This is a very individual assessment. It's a very individual assessment. It's up to you to know what's right for you. Take the self-responsibility. But what I see is too many self-empowered, God-powered people doing nothing energetically and hitting the deck. With all of these solar flares, including X-class and something like, let me see, I can go to this other chart and see. It was 11 M-class flares and 1 X-class flare in 3 days. And this is what the chart looks like. We're not letting the energy move through us. We're not grounding it here. Instead, what I see is disconnection from one's own soul light and living in fear. And I say, stop it. Stop it now. It's not just your life, but yours is the most important, right? It's the most important to you. Let divinity flow through you. Connect with your soul. Know that you're protected by God. I follow a lot of, spiritual accounts, people who are into the Bible and even preachers. And they say that this is mentioned 365 times, I believe it is in the Bible. Do not fear. And the reason why is because I am, meaning God. God says, I am with you. This is the time to be brave. Connect with your own spiritual guidance and you will know what to do. But at the very least, you can declare to God what you want to see in your world or not. And for me, I don't consent to the nuclear warriors or whoever they are. And I don't care about the details. I give that to God. It's up to me to simply cast my vote with Him.